Hey everyone, welcome in to another daily editorial here on the KE Report. We're chatting with Byron King, geologist who writes with the Paradigm Group, formerly known as Agora Financial, also writes alongside Jim Rickards. Now, Byron, we both bumped into you at the recent conferences in Vancouver throughout last week, mostly the investment-focused resource conferences. I wanted to more or less just throw the ball in your court and ask what stories caught your eye and if you noticed anything in terms of companies that were generating a little bit more buzz for investors and for all those people on the conference floor.
Well, it's great to be with you. Thank you. Yeah, the Vancouver conference, the annual Vancouver conference, it's sort of the warm-up act, you might say, for PDAC, in March, but it's January in Vancouver. The conference it was very well attended. I mean, I think over 10,000 people, pre-registered and walk-ins, and that's quite a bit more than in the last couple of years, considering down markets, COVID, et cetera, et cetera. So there was a lot of people. There were a lot of younger people there. I was surprised at the number of people who looked like they were under, 35, under 40 or so, because usually it's a bunch, it's a lot of white-haired people, up in age, the older investor crowd. There were some really young people, like under 25, I guess. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign. I, as a geologist looking for ideas, I'm just going to say right up front, I didn't really see anything new, as in, this is the great new idea here. I didn't see anything new that really caught my eye. Maybe something was there and I just missed it, but I didn't see it. But I did spend my time catching up with a lot of, companies that I'm familiar with, that I've followed over several years at least, maybe some of them even longer than that, decade and more. A lot of companies are funded. They could always be better funded, but they're at least funded. They had good programs last year in 2023. They look to have good programs this year in 2024. They got a lot of data last year and they processed it in the fall, and now it's January and they're starting to release drilling numbers and the chemistry and the assays and things like that. I expect in the next 6 weeks in the lead up to PDAC, we'll see more of that just to get some buzz in that pre-PDAC. But that was the general sense of what I came away with from the Vancouver event.
Well, Byron, when I saw you, you were speaking at the Yukon Pavilion, doing a fireside chat with Tara Christie from Banyan Gold, and you were talking about the infrastructure there and a long history of exploration and development in the Yukon. Maybe just share with folks here just some of the key takeaways from your talk there.
Okay, yes. The Yukon people called me up and said, would you like to do a fireside chat with Tara Christie from Banyan Gold, Banyan Gold, which is a wonderful, gold project that she has been working on for, 7 or 8 years now, at least, putting together in the Yukon, just down the road, really, not too far down from the Victoria Gold Eagle Mine. They've had very good success in terms of drilling. The geology, and I don't want to get into the super details, but the geology is very amenable to what I call an industrial, almost a manufacturing approach to creating ounces, to proving up ounces. The way the rocks are laid out, just under the trees, you can drill. You drill, you find, you drill, you find, you drill, you find. And they've got over 6 million ounces of gold, and probably more, because much of what they did last year still isn't inside that number yet. So they're right on a road, right on a power line, right on a fiber optic line. They've got an airstrip not too far away. So the logistics are fabulous for what they want to do in terms of developing it. And they've got a really nice number that could probably be a bigger number, but I'll just go with the 6.2 million that they advertise. So anyhow, they asked me to go on to talk, and I said, yeah, but let's not just do a presentation. Let's not just slap the pointer on the screen and do the standard. Everybody who's there who wants to see it knows the presentation. Let's talk about what are you looking for? We're in a rising gold environment. Gold's over 2,000. Been holding firm. That's good. And there's all this talk out there. Even it's drifting into the mainstream media of the weakness of the dollar. Even though, the dollar is strong on international markets. Yeah, I get that. But the general sense that we've got inflation, we've got this this kind of a hollowed out economy. That where are we going to go with this? Okay. Where we're going to go with this is we're going to go back to mines and miners and a company like Banyan. So Tara and I were talking, what is it that you're looking for in terms of an investment. And Banyan, quite frankly, fits a really nice list of investment criteria. I mean, they're the ones that I was talking with. There's a reason for that. They're right on a road. Okay, there's a year-round access road, so that nobody has to build some super expensive, $100 million, $200 million road to get there. That's great. They're right on a power line. Same thing. Right on fiber optics. Same thing. They're in an area that's been known for mining. There's some workforce, a lot of First Nations, a lot of people who are used to commuting into that region through the fly-in, fly-out concept. So workforce. They're in the Yukon, which is a very, very friendly jurisdiction in terms of mining. I mean, you don't go up there if you think you're going to make a mess and walk away. No, I mean they have their laws and their regs and everything else, but it's a very, very business-like approach to doing operations. So that's what Tara and I were talking about with respect to Banyan. Is that it's a company that's very, very well positioned to make a development decision. I mean, even though as they are right now, you can call them an advanced stage explorer or an early stage developer. It depends where you want to, depends on how you want to look at it. But the gold is there, and everything that you need to pull that gold out of the ground, that's all there too. And so that was just one example of what to look for as an investor on the outside looking in. Where do you want to deploy your money? Will there be some sort of short pop? Yeah, some skyrocketing pop. Some eureka discovery that'll move the market. I mean, don't count on that. I mean, that happens every now and then. But for the most part, if you got some patient money to put for a couple of years into an up and coming advanced explorer, junior developer, a company like Banyan is perfect for that. That's what we talked about, and we did it in front of, obviously, you're there in front of a room full of people, and it's on video, and I guess it'll be on YouTube or something when the Yukon mining people put it up.
So, Byron, let's talk about that area then that Banyan is in. It's the Tombstone Gold Belt in the Yukon. There's also Snowline, which has gotten a lot of market attention thanks a lot to their valley discovery. There's also Sitka, Rackla, and Victoria Gold, which is kind of the hub there, which is a actual gold producer. Look, there has been a lot more attention given to this area. Thanks a lot to Snowline. What do you take away from this as a general area play and how you have these different stages of companies within that area?
You mentioned Victoria. I followed them since they were a brown stain on the hillside, that they were just truly just a rock kicking, exploration play. And now, some, 8-9 years later, whatever, they're an up and running mine. They were able to raise the capital. I mean, $700 million to build the mine, get everything up and running, go through the punch list, debug everything, and they're doing really well. I mean, they are every mine has, some days are better than others, I suppose, but every mine has problems here and there, but they're doing pretty well. They're really doing nicely, and the $2,000 gold doesn't hurt at all. And so among other things, the Victoria is really living proof that you can build a mine in that area, and you can do it fairly quickly. The legal system won't kill you. You won't, drain all your money, with lawyers and court cases and all that kind of stuff. Now, this is all within what we were calling the Tombstone Gold Belt. Yes, this Tombstone Gold Belt has been, it's a new geological name that people have put on the map. We got deposits here. If we draw a circle around it, oh yeah, great. Let's call it the Tombstone Gold Belt. There are numerous other exploration plays and early stage development plays there. You mentioned Sitka, you mentioned Rackla. Those are names that are out there that are really in nice spots where they're exploring and they're finding really intriguing deposits, gold deposits with other things. There's copper and various other metals as well, but a lot of people just want to focus on the gold. Okay, great. Then you mentioned the big kahuna, which is Snowline. I've followed Snowline for a couple of years. I've actually been to their project. I've been to the site. The Valley deposit is a deposit that's located in, guess what, a valley. It's a big glacially carved U-shaped valley. And the discovery outcrop was an area where a waterfall water was falling over a rock, just sort of, I don't know, a 10, 12-foot waterfall. But the waterfall had really cleaned off the rock itself. It had really eroded it down. So you had really fresh exposures of bedrock. That was the outcrop discovery where they, somebody whacked it with a hammer and they, hey, look what we got here. So they started drilling, and it's massive. It's huge. It's a kilometer and a half wide. It's probably 15 kilometers long, and they've drilled holes down to 300 to 400 meters, 1,200 feet. I mean, give me a break. That's deep, and they're still finding gold. And it's not these really big numbers, but it's good, solid, developable numbers. It's 1 and 2 and 3 grams per ton kind of gold. So it's a drilling story. And Snowline has gone from, oh golly, I think when I first looked at it, it was a 20-cent stock. I mean, it has gone up multiple times. I mean, 20 bag, 30 bags of increase depending on when you want to look at the chart. And the thing is, they still don't have a resource. They haven't come out and said, oh yeah, we estimate that we have this many million ounces or whatever. And that's they're just exploring and finding and exploring. And it's a very, very well-run company. It's a beautiful mining camp, really set up well, great people, really competent, excellent personnel working there. From my experience of visiting the place, I've got the highest regard for management, for the technical staff, and what they're doing there. And so when eventually, some point, they will come up with a resource, somebody's going to come up with a resource. There's X million ounces or whatever. I'm sure it's going to be a big number. It's going to be a very nice big number. We have no idea what that number could be, but it's going to be big. Problem is when you do that, the market says, "Oh, great! Now I can sell my shares." That'll be probably when they finally release their resource number. That'll probably wait a couple of days after the sell-off, and that'll be the time to go back in and buy some more shares, I suppose. But that's sort of my view of that whole Tombstone Belt. A lot of nice companies there, where you can go literally from just slashing through the underbrush exploration, literally picking up rocks off of outcrops, just looking at them, smacking them with a hammer, all the way to something like the Victoria mine, which is an up and running, 200,000 ounce a year project.
Well, Byron, you brought up an interesting point there as far as Snowline and the resource and the typical reaction from investors we've seen the last couple of years. When other companies did finally put out their resource, it became a liquidity event. And there's other companies like Great Bear that never put one out and had a big takeover from Kinross, or Newfound Gold that hasn't put one out and has been a market darling. Same thing with Snowline. Are we in an environment now where, as an investor, you'd like to see companies wait to put out resources and just drill and expand and show the size, scale, and scope of a project more? Because the majors, like you say, are running their own models on the back of the napkin. Would you rather see companies wait? Because there's a big rush, it seems like, in past years to get a resource out, and it always seems like a panic and a big milestone for the company, only for it to become a liquidity event the last few years. What's your take on that?
That is a fabulous point, and it's one of those things that, as a geologist and as a person who follows the mining industry, I'm a great believer in openness and honesty, in the sense that, not that I'm accusing anybody of dishonesty, but just if you have something, you want to validate it. An awful lot of what goes on in the market is speculation. Gee, maybe they have this, maybe they have that. Well, if they put out a real certified number, this many million ounces, here's your qualified people have signed off on it. Your engineers, the geologists, the technical have signed off on it. If they put that out, I just think that's much better overall for the market. I know that an awful lot of mining occurs in what we call mining the markets. You're not mining rock, you're not mining ore, you're not producing gold or anything like that. You're mining the markets because the share price goes up or down, and people love that. And a lot of people are, they're driving nice cars, or living in nice houses, or they're taking nice vacations or whatever, based on all the money they made, mining the markets. I get that. I understand it. But I'm a great believer that if you want to be systematic about it, at some point you really need to just say, listen, here's our cutoff date. This is the date. This is the data we have. Here's the number that we have. And you want to tell people give them a real valid resource to wrap their arms around, wrap their brains around. Maybe I'm too pedantic or something, but I'm just not market oriented enough or something. I don't know, but it's I would prefer to see, when it's possible, I would prefer to see a real live resource that you can look at and put your finger on. And we grant that, okay, yeah, the cutoff date was months ago from when you drilled the last hole. And I know we had to wait 3 and 4 months to get the assays back from the lab. Okay, yeah, we know that. And I know that it costs money to do this, and hire the people and hire the qualified people. But I just think it's better to put out a number, so that things don't get too far ahead of themselves and speculation doesn't get too far ahead of itself.
Oh, come on, Byron. Sometimes speculation is fun. That's what drives some of these stocks. Sometimes, as we've seen, putting a number on a resource, usually, or at least sometimes, it can disappoint markets broadly. Back to this Tombstone Gold Belt in general, do you expect to see another major or some other company come into the belt? Because there are a lot of majors operating very close by. Or do you see this being almost a tie-up of the land here, where there are already millions of ounces discovered, plus millions of ounces to be added, whatever Snowline's resource might be? How do you see this general area playing out for investors?
Well, I think we're going to see more and more, large company interest in this in so many ways, because, for example, a lot of the rest of the world is becoming off limits to, shall we say, Western business models and Western capital. When you look at what's going on, look at Panama, the nation of Panama, where they just, a month or two ago, essentially nationalized a major copper project. If you're a big international mining group, and you're thinking, and you have to think in terms of, billion-dollar investments, because nothing comes cheap. All these mines are, $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion to build, 10, 12 years, 15 years. I mean, and they're long-term projects that are going to go for 30, 40, 50 years. You have to think long. And if you're doing that and you're looking around at so many other parts of the world that might have nice geology, they might have great rocks and minerals, yeah, good for you. But if it's all going to get nationalized, because of, some new government comes in, you need to go where you can work. And one of the places where you can still go and still work is called the Yukon. And so I would say that any large company or any, intermediate sized company that isn't in the Yukon, had better, go rent some office space up there and get looking, because it's, the writing's on the wall, the handwriting's on the wall in this. So I think it's a very good omen for the future of the Yukon, certainly, that the Tombstone Belt is there. I would say, in a geological sense, we are just now, in 2024, after decades and decades and decades of people doing work up in the, we are just now beginning to open up the scope of what all might be there under the ground. The speculative angle to it. I mean, nobody expected what happened with Snowline, and I don't mean in a market sense. I mean in the basic geology sense of, they would pull these cores out of the ground, and they would crack them open and crush them up and send them to the assayers, and they'd come back with these immense numbers, 300 meters of 2 grams per ton or something like that. They talk about gram meters, of gold. Nobody expected that, and so I would say that since nobody expected that there, I think there's going to be other places and other things that nobody expected what is going to get found up there. It's some fascinating geology. It's a mix of very, very old and very, very new geology. I mean, there's Precambrian there that's literally, over 1 billion years old. There's other things that are really just fairly new in terms of, very recent geologic processes, whether it's, Pleistocene glaciation or tertiary volcanism, things like that are out there that have put these deposits in place. So I think that in terms of the safe jurisdiction, the Yukon is great. When I say the Yukon, I mean the Northwest Territories as well. Next door in Alaska could be much the same, although you're dealing with kind of U.S. politics much more than the Yukon kind of controls its own destiny. Not Ottawa doesn't so much control the Yukon's destiny, whereas Alaska their destiny is often controlled from Washington, D.C., for better or for worse, often for worse. Yeah.
Hey, there's been a lot of positivity up north. I guess Yukon and Alaska. There's been some better stories and even some better market reaction to those companies. So hopefully that continues. This sector, as we know, certain areas can get looked upon more favorably than others, and that can bring in some more money. We just need more discoveries and more successful mining companies. But hey, Byron, thanks for taking a quick time to recap at least some of what you saw at the conference and a bit more of a focus on this Tombstone Gold Belt. We'll follow up with you in a few weeks, chatting maybe about some other commodities in the sector as well. So, Byron, thank you again for your time. We'll chat again soon.
Okay, thank you. It's great to be with you.